Yes, let's just start with the Champions League final, shall we? And let's start with probably the main talking point I want to come out of it. And this was it's happened again. I think that was the main thing that I came out of the game with is that it's happened again. It was just you almost couldn't ride it. Now, I mean, let's go back. Actually, let's start from the start of the game and let's start with the lineups. And can I just say, I'll touch on UEFA and the French police and the stadium and what happened before the game a little bit later on. You guys would know, loyal listeners would know what I mean by that. But we'll touch on it. Don't worry. So obviously the lineups came out. Real Madrid for some reason decided to announce their lineup 4 hours before kickoff. I mean, you do you, but I'm pretty sure no one was shocked by their lineup. Obviously, Valverde playing on the right hand side, Benzema, Vinicius, that midfield three, which we all have come to know and love. The back four, standard as always, and then Courtois in goal. And then with Liverpool, it was touch and go to see whether or not Thiago and Fabinho would be fit. Both were fit, both were playing. So that pretty much gave Liverpool as close to a full strength team as you could have hoped. Obviously, they went with Kanate instead of Matip, which, okay, I mean, I'm not really sure that would have made a massive difference. Kanate Kanate over Matip or Gomez. I thought Kanate played very well, just quietly. And then the front three, they went with Salah, Diaz, either side of Sadio Mane. So that was the lineup for either side. I feel like it was an expected lineup from either side. I'm not sure there was too many shocks. Neither manager decided to throw a little bit of a curveball. And the game played out as well as... Well, not as well, but the game panned out as I thought it would. I thought Liverpool would have the fair share of possession, would have the lion's share of chances, would have the most amount of dominance over the game. It was one of those things of, okay, they just need to break through early, and they had a couple of big chances. And Thibaut Courtois, which will become a theme as I speak about this game, was absolutely monstrous. Saving a Sadio Mane shot onto the post, saving a Salah cutback. They had the chances, Liverpool, in the first half. And it was a game of, all right, who strikes first? And Liverpool were by far the more dominant side. I thought that's undisputed. By far the more dominant side, by far the better team over the first half. And they went into half-time 0-0 after a pretty back-and-forth game. It wasn't as cagey as what I thought it would be. Obviously, we had the Man City-Chelsea final last year was cagey. And even the final before that between PSG and Bayern Munich was cagey as well. I felt like this was a little bit more free-flowing, and I felt like a lot of space was given to either team. And one in particular, I felt like the midfield of Real Madrid played a very underrated role. Surprisingly, their role was that they gave the Liverpool's midfield so much space. So much space. It was, I mean, football manager players would understand what I'm saying, but the line of engagement for Real Madrid was much higher, whereas the defensive line was lower, or much lower. And what that means, for those who don't play FM, is they had a lot of depth. Real Madrid had a lot of depth to their game. So their back four and their back seven, even if you count the midfield three, was sitting relatively deep, whereas that attacking three was sitting really high. So what that allowed was quick, direct counter-attacks that took territory and that took a lot of... that took the Liverpool midfield out of it. So they didn't have to play through the midfield. However, what that allowed is that when Liverpool were in possession, this allowed Fabinho and Thiago to just have control, and I don't think they capitalised with it that much. So, I mean, that's kind of fortunate for Real Madrid because they could have. I feel like Thiago had a pretty poor game. I felt like Fabinho wasn't as influential as what he could have been, and Henderson played his standard role, so there wasn't a lot to talk about from him. But the fact that Real Madrid gave up that midfield space in order to have that direct long ball, which took a lot of territory out to Vinicius or to Benzema for the counter-attack, kind of worked in their favour, which shocked me a little bit. But they came into this first half 0-0. Controversially, some might say, but for those who think that Benzema goal should have counted, please go and read the rules, because the rule book literally says that it was not a deliberate play at the ball by Fabinho, meaning the last touch was a deflection, which meaning that the last touch from the Real Madrid player, which was Valverde, was into an offside position at the time of happening. Sorry, I didn't explain that well, but Benzema's goal was rightfully disallowed because the last touch. So, like, how do I explain this without tying myself in knots? Benzema's goal was rightfully disallowed because the last touch from a Real Madrid player coincided with Benzema being offside, and all the touches from the Liverpool players in between those two moments weren't deliberate plays of the ball, meaning they count as deflections, meaning they're not deliberate, like they're not taking possession, so they don't count. I don't understand why it's that hard for many people to understand. Do people think it's a Liverpool bias? I mean, that's always going to be thrown around, but that's just nonsense. Let's be honest. Yeah, it was quite rightfully disallowed and quite obviously disallowed as well. I was actually shocked that it took that long to disallow the goal. But anyway, yeah, they went into halftime 0-0. And Real Madrid would have been the happier side after the first 45 minutes. I know that Liverpool, like I said, had the better chances, but Real Madrid knew their game plan. They were going to sit back, wait for the counter, wait for the one chance, and Liverpool needed to score early, and they didn't. So it was a little bit of cat and mouse. Who's going to strike first? Can Liverpool make the breakthrough? And Liverpool probably should have made the breakthrough pretty early on. They had, again, the game continued on as it did. It was a very similar second half to how it was in the first. Just domination from Liverpool. And it was a counter-attack which we all thought was going to happen, which did happen. The ball went down the right-hand side for Valverde, who did well to get into a pocket of space and to fling a ball across goal for Vinicius Jr. Now, Vinicius Jr. scored the goal, but Vinicius Jr. also won Real Madrid the Champions League final for a couple of reasons. He was the catalyst for Real Madrid's danger. Without Vinicius Jr., Real Madrid don't have a threat on the counter-attack, meaning Liverpool were able to play with a lot more freedom, less stress that they could be hit on the counter, and he was by far the key in this game. And it was fitting that he scored the goal. Trent Alexander-Arnold, was he sleeping? I mean, you can say that, but I'm not sure many right-backs would be that alert. To that scenario, I think it's harsh to say that he was at fault for that goal. It was just a brilliant play from Valverde, a brilliant play from Real Madrid, and a good finish from Vinicius. And then it was a moment of, all right, what next? What did Liverpool do to try and salvage a result? They brought on Keita, they brought on Firmino, they brought on... Who else did they bring on? They brought Jota on for Diaz. They brought Firmino and Keita on for Henderson and Thiago, obviously going for that extra attacking midfield, that extra attacking player. I thought Firmino came on, provided a spark, provided a presence. I thought Jota was dangerous rather. But you speak about this all you want when it doesn't really matter when Real Madrid have a 6'10" Belgium in goal who just did not want to let anything through. It was, I mean, the chance was the Mo Salah chance. Lovely crossfield ping from, it might have been Andy Robertson or even maybe Fabinho. I can't remember who it was. It might have been Fabinho actually. Lovely crossfield pass. Salah takes it in his stride and does a beautiful feint to get past Mendy. And 9 times out of 10, that's a goal. Any other goalkeeper, any other team on any other day, that's a goal when it's 1-1. But it almost seemed that it was a force field, that it wasn't just his arms and his legs and his body that was in goal. It was also just like a 2-meter force field around him, which just wasn't allowing anything. So that was probably the biggest chance, and then Liverpool just kept pressing, but nothing was... There was no give. I said this last week. I said that Liverpool have no give. Well, Real Madrid had no give. They just did not give Liverpool an inch. They No, they didn't give him a chance. They didn't give him a real chance to get back into the game because of just the quality of their players, quality of Courtois. I thought the back four was fantastic. The midfield, like I said, played a very pivotal role in the counter-attacking way that Real Madrid wanted to play, which meant that on the stats, they might have got dominated. I know Fabinho was very influential. Thiago had a lot of the ball, just wasn't on for some reason. He played I don't think Thiago played very well. So yeah, it's one of those games where you can look back on and say what would have happened, what could have happened. But Liverpool fall at the final hurdle in a season that could have ended in a quadruple has only ended in 2 domestic cups, which is heartbreaking for them. I still do think that this is the best Liverpool team. I still do think that this Liverpool team is one of the best in Premier League history, regardless of what the trophy cabinet says. For those who know football, know that that's fact. This Liverpool team is one of the best Liverpool teams in modern history. So it's just a shame that they only have 1 Premier League and 1 Champions League to show for it, because they've been unbelievable this season and in the past couple of seasons as well. Real Madrid, kudos to them. I do take blame for Real Madrid winning it, because I said all the way back when PSG beat them 1-0, I said that Real Madrid Real Madrid don't deserve to go through. And they went through, and they went through again, and they won the Champions League. So good on them. Carlo Ancelotti, some manager. Karim Benzema, some player. Luka Modric, some player. Good on them. They deserved it. They were perhaps not the best team over the tournament, but they were the team that won each leg and won the trophy at the end. So I guess by that definition, there's no team better. I think that's enough Champions League final talk. There wasn't really a lot to analyse from the game because it was pretty Liverpool heavy domination, so it wasn't back and forth. There was a lot of tactical elements to play. I think the biggest tactical element, like I said, was that massive gap, the depth that Real Madrid played with, having Benzema and Vinicius all the way up, and having Valverde, Modric, Casemiro, and Toni Kroos basically playing 2 metres in front of the back four. That depth allowed the counter-attack to happen, which allowed the goal to happen, which allowed Real Madrid to win. So good on them. Congratulations. Commiserations, Liverpool fans. You guys still had a fantastic season, and it's a shame that your season will be remembered as for losing the Premier League and Champions League, when should a ball bounce 2 metres the other way, or should the player be a yard slower, or should whatever happen, Liverpool probably win both trophies. It's fine margins, but it is what it is. You can't really control that.